What is going on, Colts Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Bring the Juice. Your guy Cody here, and the Indianapolis Colts wrapped up their final preseason game. They defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by a score of 27-10. And so we did a reaction of this game last night, and obviously Derek was live streaming the game last night. And as we do with every preseason game, guys, we wanted to do a little bit of a stock up, stock down report. If you're not familiar with what that is, essentially it's some players who looked really good, that stock is up on them, and some players who maybe struggled a little bit or maybe didn't really do a whole lot to improve their chance at the final 53-man roster. So without further ado, let's get into it. And I want to preface it by saying, guys, cuts are on Tuesday. So very, very quickly here, the Colts are going to decide on some of these guys. There's definitely a lot of guys that are right on the fringe of the 53-man roster. And so with that being said, I feel like there's a lot more guys last night that had more stock up than stock down. So there's going to be a good amount of guys that I want to talk about here. Whether or not they're on the fringe doesn't matter. I just wanted to talk about a few different guys as well. So starting with some of the negatives, let's just get this out of the way right off. Let's talk about some of the guys that kind of struggled a little bit, I felt like the number 2 and number 3, number 4 wide receivers, they all didn't really get involved a whole lot. We talked about a little bit like, okay, was that more on the coaching staff? Was that by design? Was that more on the quarterback? Or was that more on the wide receivers? I think for me, I still have question marks at wide receiver. I think there's tremendous talent there, but, the immediate impact is more my question. So it's just like, I didn't see anything. I was hoping to see Alec Pierce have at least a couple nice catches, and the offense obviously didn't stay out there, the first team offense, as long as I'd like, but I would have liked to see them go a little bit more vertical and at least test these Tampa Bay DBs in this last preseason game, but they really didn't do that. Their offense kind of stalled. So, the stock is down, I guess, on just the first team offense because they really kind of struggled. And specifically, the passing game didn't see a whole lot downfield for them. Obviously, in that third drive, Matt Ryan started to light it up a little bit, found Pittman for a really big gain, found Deion Jackson on a nice screen. So, all that to say, I just would have liked to see a little bit more from the passing offense in particular, outside of Michael Pittman, the other wide receivers the Colts have on their roster. Kind of talking about a couple other things as well that I was a little bit, still concerned about. Definitely that backup interior defensive line. I'm still concerned about it. Right when they came in, Tampa Bay ran it right down their throats again. Now, to their credit, they started to shore it up as the game went along. But to me, guys, it's still kind of a concern. Can the Colts stop the run? If something were to happen to Buckner or to Grover Stewart, who's the next guy in line at that back? Especially the backup one tech is kind of my biggest question mark. More of a run down defensive lineman. And it seems like the backup guys have kind of struggled so far in camp and through the preseason. So that's been my biggest question mark right there. So I do think, potentially a guy like Malcolm Brown, and that's been a name that's been thrown around, could be a nice fit backup one tech. Whatever it is, I do think it's a real possibility the Colts look to get a vet here in the next couple days, maybe next week or something like that, because I do think it is a concern. So really, guys, that's about it that I have as far as stock down. So there's a lot of guys that have a lot of stock up, I feel like, compared to, in the past. I mean, maybe you could throw Nick Foles on stock down, but I don't know. I still feel like he's really going to be, your number 2 quarterback. And he did have a few throws where you're like, what was that? But overall, I wasn't overly concerned about him, I guess. I know some people are. And obviously, if you guys listened to the podcast yesterday, you know how Derek feels about Nick Foles. He doesn't really have any confidence. I think it's a little too premature, personally. I'm not really there yet. I do think, and we'll get in, and I guess that leads kind of into the positives. Sam Ehlinger, again, had another spectacular day, had a really long rushing touchdown, had a couple nice passes, obviously had a big screen pass to Desmond Patman, who I also think has stock up as well. And I think right now, guys, he's a number 5 receiver. So some of those key backup guys, and I think Sam Ehlinger's guys really made a case. I don't think he's quarterback 2, but I certainly think he needs to be rostered on this team. He can't, be cut. He can't try to get him through waivers because, guys, I don't think he's going to make it through waivers. I really feel like the Colts need to keep 3 quarterbacks now, and credit Sam Ehlinger because he has looked phenomenal this preseason. So just wanted to give him shout out as well as Desmond Patman as well. And I guess on the flip side, you could maybe say Mike Strawn as well, a little stock down because you didn't hear from him. he didn't do a whole lot in this last preseason game. I would have liked to see him get a little bit more involved. Only had one catch on the day. So as far as some other guys that I really felt like had some stock up, these are some guys that I posted last night on Twitter after following the game. A couple guys that I really feel like looked good as far as the ups are. So talking about the quarterback, let's talk about as well, staying on the offense. I felt like Bernhard Raimann, for the most part, he had one sack he allowed, but it seems like he's continuing to look good. For most of that game, Bernhard Raimann looked really good. And so I think the stock's up still on him, despite the fact that he did allow a sack. Obviously you don't want to see that, but I think he's continuing to progress and getting to where the Colts feel like he needs to be at this point. So I wanted to give him a quick shout out. Talking about a couple other guys as well. Deion Jackson, he actually started the game as a starter. And I think that was due in part to the Colts kind of wanting to see what he did. And I want to give him credit where it's due. He had a nice play on a screen pass on that third drive. I thought he looked really, really good in open space. So I think, guys, he could potentially be RB4 if you do keep 4. So I wanted to give him kind of that shout out there. Phillip Lindsay as well looked really good. He had a touchdown with the second team offense. So I think he's RB3. A couple other guys as well that I thought looked good on the offensive side of things. I thought Wesley French looked good. I think he's probably going to make the roster as that backup center, depending what happens with Pinter, kind of that backup second or third center. We'll see exactly how it plays out. But I thought he looked pretty good in the game as well. Some other guys that I thought looked good. And this is a guy that guys I think sneakily might make the roster because of what he did in the return game yesterday. That's Kiki Kuti. I thought he looked really, really good in terms of the return game and was really excited and encouraged to see him kind of provide a little bit of spark for the special teams with Isaiah Rodgers out because of the concussion. So, yeah, I was really encouraged with him, and I think he might just round out this roster because of his ability on special teams and also what he can do in the slot as well.
What's going on, everybody? Today, I'm introducing our new sponsor, Homefield, a premium collegiate apparel brand out of Indianapolis that has incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs. Homefield, being a local brand to Indianapolis, is partnering with the Indianapolis Colts to bring you a new collection of Colts apparel. This is Homefield's first NFL collection. They're super excited to be involved with the Indianapolis Colts, and we're excited to help promote their new designs. They have 6 new designs. They have a hooded sweatshirt, crew neck, 2 different tees, joggers, and a jacket. Now, if I say so myself, I'm definitely going to be rocking the sweatshirt and the joggers, guys, because they look extremely comfortable, and I'm definitely going to need them for the fall and winter season. It's the perfect collection to have for you guys to kick off the NFL season. It is going to be launching August 27th at 12 p.m. Eastern. So be on the lookout for it. And if this is already passed, make sure to go check out the Homefield site and be able to get yours today. New customers can get 15% off their first purchase from Homefield with the code BRINGTHEJUICE at checkout at homefieldapparel.com. Make sure to go check out their website, guys, and catch your Colts apparel.
A couple other guys here that I want to talk about. I think that'll do it, guys, kind of for some of the offensive guys. Now, moving to the defense, there's a lot more guys here that I want to kind of highlight. Want to talk about specifically Ben Banogu. I thought Ben Banogu looked really good. He had a couple tackles for loss. He was playing like his job depended on it, and it really does. It was his last chance with this team. Is it too late? Is it too little too late at this point? We shall see. But I was encouraged with what I saw from Banogu last night. I thought he had a strong performance, all things considered, and definitely has made his case to make the final 53-man roster. A couple other guys. Sterling Weatherford looked really, really good. I felt like, he led the team with over 10 tackles. He looked really, really spectacular. And guys, to me, he's a lock to make this roster at this point, even over a guy like JoJo Domann. So just wanted to give him a shout out. Thought he looked really, really good. And I think he's definitely going to be that number 5 linebacker. A couple other guys that looked really good as well. I wanted to talk about Anthony Chesley. Anthony Chesley and Dallas Flowers. We'll highlight them both. Both guys that are vying for that number 5 corner spot. I thought they both did some things to help them out. More Chesley in coverage, and I would say Flowers was fine in coverage, but also his ability on special teams could potentially give him the nod over a guy like Chesley, or maybe forces the Colts to feel like they need to keep 6 cornerbacks. We'll see. But I thought he did himself some favors, had like a 50-plus yard return, I think, on the kickoff. So, you like to have some guys that show some ability there to do a little bit of both. The last guy that I want to kind of talk about here, guys, is somebody that I think will now make the final 53-man roster because Armani Watts got injured his ankle on the first play of this game, is out for the year. And I felt like Rodney Thomas, the Colts' 7th-round pick, looked really good. I thought he looked really good. I'm very intrigued by his upside as a safety. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do, kind of as that backup free safety. I'm really, he's very athletic. He's raw, certainly. But I liked what I saw from Rodney Thomas. I really felt like he played really good given the circumstances, and the Colts are going to need him, as that primary backup guy to Julian Blackmon. And I think he's a guy that's up to the task. But guys, I think that'll do it overall for my look at some of the stock up, stock down guys. Like I mentioned, a lot more stock up guys and a lot more stock down guys at this episode. And guys, like I mentioned at the beginning, also, roster cuts are happening on Tuesday. So we will have a final 53-man roster prediction out tomorrow. Be sure to look for that. That'll do it, guys, for kind of my look here at the stock up, stock down players from the Colts' final preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me know your thoughts overall on some of these guys. We're looking more at not really a whole lot of the starters, although we did highlight a few, talking more about some of those guys that are making the final 53-man roster and kind of making their case. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you to everybody who tuned in yesterday for Derek's live stream and also for our video we posted late last night. If you haven't been able to check out that video, be sure to do that and hear about 5 minutes of Darren ranting about Sam Ehlinger versus Nick Foles. It's golden. So be sure to check that out, guys. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate all the support. And as always, guys, go Colts.